Hello, and welcome to today's video in high altitude investing. So, a couple things I want to talk about. First of all, I apologize for the lengthy distance in between videos. I've been trying to upload more consistently recently, but I've been having a hard time actually getting the time to do so. I'm in the market for a job right now, and so I've been trying to work that out. And I've had some things come up. It's gotten in the way of me recording, but I'm getting things back on track, and I should have time to keep consistently making videos as normal. Now that I've got a few things worked out, and I'm working on getting a couple other things worked out, like a job, but I'll have time to record videos at least once a week this month. So I'm going to shoot for that for the last 3 weeks of this month, and we'll go from there, but I should have the time to do a video a week now. A couple other things. I wanted to go over the Poloniex interface again, because I have a lot of people asking me questions, pretty basic questions on how to use the interface, so I wanted to do a quick basic run over of that. So we'll do that first. So this bottom bit right here is basically your four ways that you can buy and sell a cryptocurrency. So if you wanted to invest in one of these currencies right now, I'm actually going to sell a little bit of one of these so that I can demonstrate this to you. Let's see, what would be one that I have earned some profit on. I want to sell one that I've earned profit on. Before I made this video, I deposited $100 into the high altitude investing account on here, logged in as high altitude investing at Gmail. Basically what that does is I want to separate my personal Poloniex and my channel Poloniex and actually start using the channel one and start putting about $100 a month is what I want to do. We'll see how much I can actually get for the next little while, but I want to shoot for around $50 to $100 a month, adding to this account just in different areas and selling and buying, so that you guys can get a little bit of more of a hands-on experience with this channel. So that's something I wanted to get worked out, and I decided to go ahead and put $100 towards it today. Now, we used to have about $32 in there. We started with 20, and we almost doubled our money. We did double our money for a little while there, and then we saw the huge Ethereum dump, and that kind of took off some of our money. But I went ahead and I just took that all out, and it's basically like a fresh account. Other than the few transactions we've had in the past, it's basically like a fresh account. And then I went ahead and invested in some of the cryptocurrencies I want to talk about today. And it's not all of the ones that I think have potential, but it's the ones that I really feel good about right now. And you can see that from my BTC value down to 1 CR right here. This is 1 CR. This is I have these sorted by my Bitcoin value in them. The way that you do that is you go to market settings right up here, this setting button in the top right, and you can show how many rows displayed. Right column could be balance, estimated value, quick select. You can quick select all the ones that you have a balance in. Let me just go ahead and do that. I guess since it's already sorted by that, it doesn't need to, but yeah, this is just a way to more efficiently sort what coins you're invested in at the time. It's also pretty useful because I like to invest like even numbers into coins. So like you can see over here on the right with folding coin and EMC squared, you can see that I have exactly 0.0100 Bitcoin value, and that's exactly what I invested. And same with Factom, Dash, Steam, etc. And yeah, so I invested all the same amount on those. You can see I've lost a little bit on Factom, Dash, and Steam, but it's just temporary loss. I only invested like an hour or two ago, so I'm not too concerned about that. Obviously, it's a tiny bit of loss that's to be expected along the way. Now, so candlesticks is basically a way of representing a price when the market opens and when it closes for that hour or day. I have these on day candlesticks, so that means on this day, for example, this day was September 30th, and you can see that one C Reddit opened up here at the top. Up right here is where the open, close, volume, average, high, low, and the date. All of that information for each candlestick is right up there on the top. So if we look at that September 30th, you can see that it opened at 0.00420 Bitcoin and closed at 0.010526 Bitcoin, which is over 100% gains. So that means that this coin over doubled in value in just one day, because each candlestick is a day worth of time. Now, if you want to change that, you can change how long each candlestick is. For example, I can go to 30 minutes here. It's a little bit harder to see, but if we take this bar right here, this is your time zoom scale. So basically you can zoom in to time here and scale up all of these accordingly, and now you can see how 30-minute candlesticks are a little bit more relevant in a shorter amount of time. Now, as you can see, 1C Reddit has just been kind of playing around in this area for a minute now, and I felt like it was a really good time to buy in, considering its value in the past and the fact that it's below that 23% level, and it spent a pretty good portion of time after this point right here in which it was above that 23% level. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Probably about a month that it was above that 23% level. And I don't really see it going below its all-time low for a while. And so below that 23%, pretty much anything below that is going to be a good investing opportunity. You can sell above the 38 and make profit. I really feel like it will go up again soon, within the next week or two. Now, Fibonacci levels, I've talked about them. I have a video on them if you want to check that out. Basically, you can turn on different settings by clicking this top left setting right here. This just adjusts different things in your graph. You can get a slow-moving average, and slow-moving averages are pretty useful. As you can see, that it's a really good time. According to the slow-moving average, it came up and hit this level right here at 0.0059 Bitcoin, and that's the slow-moving average representation of this coin, which is basically just the average price according to a certain preset of math in which it calculates that around. It's kind of complicated, it gets a little confusing, but it's basically just an average of that value in the past little while. And over time. It's just an average of the value over time. And that's that blue line that you see right here that I added. SMA, that's what that stands for, slow moving average. You can change the amount in which it calculates that around, like 30. 30 makes it so that it's average. It doesn't quite, what's the best way to put this? The average point in which it uses to follow isn't as forgiving. I don't know if that's the right word, but basically, it averages out more and more the higher this number is. So if I go 100, you can see that the slow moving average looks a little bit different. I like to keep mine on the recommended settings, default settings, which is 50. I don't use these very often, but I do occasionally. My main thing is fib levels, and then you can get an EMA periods. These I honestly never use. I haven't had a use for those yet. Occasionally I will just turn everything on, kind of see what it looks like with that, because it can give you a pretty good idea if you have all this stuff on right here. It gives you a little bit more stuff to work with when you're looking at the coin, but they also kind of get in the way, and so I like to keep it nice and clean. Usually just fib and slow moving average is my two favorite tools on Poloniex. Now obviously there's other places that you can take the data from Poloniex and do all kinds of in-depth analysis. One example is TradingView.com. has all of the Poloniex markets, I believe, and you can go on there and do a lot more technical analysis if you would like to. You've got more indicators, they're called. That's what these are. This is a Fibonacci retracement, and it's a basic indicator. And same with the slow moving average. Those are both basic indicators, they're called. It can kind of give you an indication of what the market might do according to those mathematics that it calculates. And it's all for you, We live in an age where all of the math is calculated for you, so you basically just click a button on your computer and it tells you those things. You don't have to sit here and fiddle with it until you figure it out, You don't have to do all of the calculations on your own. It does it for you, which is really nice. Now, let's actually get into some of these coins. I want to go over the Poloniex one more time, just like the graphical user interface. Point out a couple more things that I didn't mention at the start of the video. For example, market depth. This is basically just a visual representation of all of the current sell and buy orders on Poloniex for that market, that specific market. So this is the 1CR market, and this is representing the buy and sell orders inside of the 1CR market. Now, if we go down and we load 100 more, and you see on the sum BTC over here in the right column, if you look down on the sum BTC, you can see places where the Bitcoin, the sum amount of Bitcoin, that means the total amount of Bitcoin at that price in which people will buy, people will buy that much Bitcoin, and it's all of the previous ones added up. It looks pretty, it follows a pretty even trend here. It just we see continual growth here. But there are places where you can see that there's way more. See, like there's 10,500 to buy at 2 Satoshi. So that means if 1CR ever hit 2 Satoshi in value, which I never see happening, but it could happen, then somebody wants to buy 10,500 of them when it hits that price. So that's basically what that represents, is the different orders in the different places. But it can kind of be confusing when you're looking through this buy order thing to see these walls, they're called. These are buy walls. That basically means that that's an important place of support in which the amount of some Bitcoin goes up by a significant amount, and you can see it jump up right here. And same again right here. It jumps up. That's a lot of buy support. That means if it ever hit that price, there would be a significant amount of Bitcoin and a lot of people buying in, so a lot of volume, which means the market is saying it doesn't really want to go below that price. It still could, but it doesn't want to. It has to break below that, basically. It has to, all of that volume has to be eaten through, and then the market can then decide what it's going to do after that. So that's basically how market depth works, and these are all the buy and sell orders from all the different people using Poloniex. Here's your place that you can actually buy and sell your coins. And here is trade history. So these are actually the trades that have taken place, which means two people, one person that wants to buy 1 CR and one person that wants to sell some, met on an agreement in price, and the exchange handled the transaction, and now that that happens and both people are happy. Somebody got their 1 CR for the price they asked for, and somebody sold it for the price they were asking for. Now, in a market, your buy price is called your bid. So if you want to buy a coin at a certain price, that's your bid. That's how much you're willing to bid on the value of that specific coin or currency or commodity or stock, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Basically, whatever your buy point is your bid. So that's how much you're willing to bid on that to get one of it, or a fraction of it even. Like with cryptocurrencies, you have fractions out into an infinite amount. Well, not infinite, but it can be fractioned out. And so you can buy a really small amount of something. For example, on 1 CR, I have a buy order for 10 of them. This is my bid. So I'm bidding 0.0026 of my Bitcoin for 10.5 1 CR. And that price hasn't been hit yet. So my bid isn't taken up. Somebody hasn't sold. There isn't somebody that has met on an agreement price yet in which they're willing to sell their 1 CR for what I'm asking. Now, I think this order will be taken up before the end of the day, but if it doesn't go to that price, then I'll have an open order just sitting there. And when you have an open order, it takes your Bitcoin on hold, basically. So I can't spend that 0.0275434 Bitcoin, which is the total amount that I have on that order, because it's being held in an open bid. So until I cancel it with this button right here on the right, which I don't plan on doing because I want to see if somebody buys or sells it at that low enough of a price that I can buy it, then my Bitcoin is held in that position until in that order until it's filled or I close it. Now, a quick way to see if you have any open orders that you have Bitcoin holding in that you maybe forgot about or something like that is you can go to your open orders here, and that's on the top right, and then you click my orders, and that takes you to your open orders. As you can see, I have a buy order on ARDR and 1 CR, and those are my two open orders right now. And you can see that they're both created today, December 14th at 16:08. So, you know, pretty early in the morning, but it's weird that it does that. 16:08, considering the fact that it's 9:47 a.m. for me. I think their timestamps are based on their servers, so whatever time zone Poloniex exchange is in. But I could be wrong. I'd probably have to check in their frequently asked questions or information about the website. But I just wanted to go over a couple of things. Those are some things people were asking me about, some problems people had. So I wanted to kind of give you guys an idea of how you can, you know, solve those issues. But so yeah, 1CR, it's a good coin to invest in right now. It has a lot of value potential. There's only 5 Bitcoin in volume, which means it hasn't had a lot of volume, but the chart pattern really is to die for. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and say that most chart patterns on Poloniex right now look very, very good. Now, that basically means that the market conditions are prime for investing. So if you're an investor and you want to, you know, and you want to spend some of your Bitcoin on some of these currencies to see if you can make a profit, or even if you just want to buy some to use, people forget that, you know, Poloniex is a good way to use some of these currencies too. Like if I want to actually use Dash or Monero, I can buy some, deposit it into a Monero wallet or a Dash wallet, and use that coin. So it's a good way to get coins too. So that does mean that there's a lot of flow out of Poloniex. You have to think, you know, you have to remember that people aren't only taking money out through Bitcoin. On average, I bet you the majority is taking money out through Bitcoin, but it's not always the case, which means the available supply of coins on Poloniex isn't always going to be constant, you know, because people are taking out and selling and all of that good stuff. So it's a very live market. And people forget that you can spend all of these things. That also affects the value of them. You can spend any of these, most of them, and if you can't spend it, you can convert it into something you can. So there's lots of actual markets for these to be spent. You know, you can buy physical objects with these coins, and so that's another thing to keep in mind. Now, some ones that I really wanted to point out today, because I feel like they are in prime market conditions for investing, is New Economy Movement. Now, New Economy Movement saw like a 6,000% gain from January over to June and July of this year. We saw a huge run at its peak, from its low point to its peak. I believe it was like 10,000% or something absolutely ridiculous. So there's lots of, you know, it's had a pretty big swing in the past, which is something you want to look out for. But this chart pattern looks really good to me. It broke below this 23, and it's coming down to this same support level in which it broke really hard out of, which is 0.000374 Bitcoin, or about 374 Satoshi, and we're at 434 right now, but I really don't see this coin breaking below that support, and I see it gaining a lot of value and having a nice swing up here. So definitely keep your eye on new economy movement. I personally have 0.0196 Bitcoin in there, which I bought this morning, which all of these investments I got this morning. So another one would be Folding Coin. Now, I invested in this earlier, and it's actually turning out to be a good investment. I've already made 0.0004 Bitcoin in profit, so that's just, in the past little while, past couple hours, we saw this bar up here, this nice little climb up. But again, these are just perfect market conditions. We see a breakout pattern, a dump off, break below 23%, and finding support at the point it broke out at, which is about 71 Satoshi. So I really see good potential in Folding Coin. And I mentioned Folding Coin and Gridcoin research, and a lot of those that are based on like actually using some of the mining power to research important data and information so that we can come up with solutions to certain things in the medical world and whatever else. So these are actually technologies that could benefit humanity beyond just a currency. So that's an interesting idea, and I feel like we'll see some value potential purely because of the conceptism behind that. So Folding Coin is definitely one that I'm keeping an eye on. It's up 12% today. I forgot to mention New Economy was up 2, and 1CR was up 3.2. Now, 12% gains in a day is really good. You don't really see that in most markets, especially consistently like you do on Poloniex. So again, I like to emphasize the fact that this is really good conditions and a really good area to make money. Like even trading stocks, you have a hard time making that much money. Or, well, not money, but you have a hard time getting that type of movement in a day, let alone a few hours. Now, Dash is another really good investment. Personally, out of all of the cryptocurrencies out right now on Poloniex, the 3 that I recommend investing in would be Dash, Ethereum Classic, and Factom. Those are the 3 that I see the most potential in right now. Now, we'll see basically what happens, but those are the ones I'm betting the majority of my money on, especially in my Poloniex account, my personal one. I have a lot of money in those 3 coins. Dash is down at its 23% fib, and I think it's, and from its beginning point it's at its 38%. I think it's formulating a pattern right here that is ready to break an all-time high. So its previous all-time high was 0.028 Bitcoin. Its previous peak recent peak that we saw was 0.0254 Bitcoin. And I think we're going to see an all-time high of 0.038. I mean, I can't really say for sure, but it's going to break above 0.03 Bitcoin per Dash. There's a couple things that make me think this. First of all, it's a beautiful trend line. We just see this nice, steady uptrend. Second of all, it came down and tested this 38%, whereas most other altcoins actually broke down to their 23% from their all-time high fib, which is pretty significant, seeing Dash catch support at that 38 when most everything else is losing value around that area. Second thing that makes me think that it's going to do this is because it was trying to right here. Now, why do I say it was trying to? Because if you look at the shape of this mountain, it had a pretty strong, it caught leverage at this 50%, and it really wanted to go. It like, if Bitcoin wouldn't have gotten that value spike that we saw, Dash probably would have continued on that uptrend there, because it caught strong leverage at that 50% level. Now, Bitcoin saw a huge run in value, so naturally things that are traded against it are probably going to lose some value. But, so we saw it come down here, but it would not break below this. Would not break below this support level, and I don't see it breaking below this support level anytime soon. In fact, I see an uptrend in Dash in the next 3 to 4 months. And that's just my personal thoughts. Obviously, all of this is subjective. This is my personal perspective. I say that every time, but I can't emphasize it enough, because you're risking your money right now when you go and invest in these things, and it's not my fault if you make the wrong decision. This is just how I see the markets, so you have to understand that when you're doing this. But I do have a pretty good knowledge basis. I have been doing this over a year now, and I've seen the rise and the fall of a lot of different currencies, and then I've seen the patterns that they form. So I have a pretty good idea from a standpoint of time and wisdom in the area. So I do make a lot of trades, and I do make consistent money doing this. I paid for my car with Bitcoin money, so it works for me. So yeah, Dash, definitely one to invest in. It's at a really low point, and it spent more than 50% of its time above this 23% level. In fact, it only came down to this 23% level a little bit in the past, since April. It's only came below this 23% for small portions of time, which means if you want to, follow history, which history usually tells a pretty good accurate story of the future, then you can see that the majority of the time is above that level. That means that chances are the majority of the time in the future will be above that level. Now, that's not always the case, but that's one of those, that's a tool that you can use in your head, just looking at these graphs and determining about how much time they're spending above certain areas is a tool for statistical analysis that you can apply for the future. And I do that occasionally, and this is definitely a prime example of a coin that holds strength above its 23% for long periods of time. So I see a lot of potential in Dash. Now, Ethereum Classic finally bottomed out. I was talking about Ethereum Classic's potential around here and more around here, but I feel like what's going to happen, and almost, I don't know if it has to happen, but I feel like it does. I feel like for us to really decide which one we're going to keep around between the two, between Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, or Ethereum Core and Ethereum Classic, whatever you want to call the two, I feel like they have to become a parity in value. Now, what's a parity in value? That's when two coins or two things reach an equilibrium where they're the same price. You can exchange one for one. So I see that in the near future between Ethereum Classic and Ethereum. Now, I think they're both going to be below $7. I don't see any of them going above $7 in the next few months, but I have a short position on Ethereum right now, and I'm shorting it because I feel like it's going to lose about $3, give or take, and then because Ethereum Classic will eat away from it about $3, and we'll see an equilibrium in price, and one of them will take off. Now, I personally think Ethereum Classic is the one that will stay around because I do not agree with the DAO hard fork. So, because I feel like it goes against a very important principle that those people invested that, that money and stuff, understanding the risks. And so if you just kind of forgive them for that because you can, and then it goes against important values. Personally, it goes against my values, and I don't see that being a beneficial thing in a currency and technology. It's not just a currency, it's a technology that is so based on community and community consensus. It made a lot of people really mad, and that does not help when you already have a hard time getting enough people to mine on mining pools or whatever to keep it going. So it doesn't help to just put that on top of everything else that you can't basically forgive all of those people for their mistake. I don't, like they understood that was what they were getting into when they got into it. So, that's personally my views on the DAO hard fork. Now, Ethereum Classic, because of that, I see a huge run up in Ethereum Classic. It's going to break its previous high, and it's going to go up to probably about $4, and I think they're going to meet an equilibrium price somewhere around there, $4 or $5, but both of them together under 10. So that's my prediction in Ethereum Classic in the next little while. Factum, great technology, really good looking chart patterns. We saw this double top formation right here, which was a really good signal for shorters. You could have shorted it all the way down to here, which, by the way, I've been shorting Ethereum every time it hits somewhat of a peak in the past month or two because of my idea about Ethereum Classic, but that's besides Factum. So Factum is up 12%. It's hit this very important 23. And again, this is another currency that you can see it doesn't like to spend a lot of time below that level, that fib level. And there isn't a ton of Factum, so the available supply makes it have a lot of value potential. The volume, we have 3,000 Bitcoin volume into this in the past 24 hours. And I'm banking a lot of my Bitcoin on it right now. It's kind of a safe haven for me. It's a good spot to put my Bitcoin when I feel like Bitcoin has a lot of uncertainty, which I'm going to talk about in a minute because I feel like it does for a little while. So, yeah, Factum, great chart pattern, beautiful wave, beautiful, huge, just bowl shape right here. And then it's coming down, and it's making this bowl shape again, but it actually found support at a higher level this time. So a lot of value potential for this coin too. Basically, right now I feel like there's only a few places you can put your Bitcoin that you're going to go wrong in here, and that's dying off currencies. That's ones that are doomed to fail already, because I'll talk about it in a minute, but I feel like just so you understand beforehand, so you can get a better idea of why I feel like these currencies are taking off right now, and these technologies, I shouldn't really call them currencies, these technologies are taking off right now, altcoin technologies, because of strength that I foresee getting lost in Bitcoin in the next 2-3 weeks. So talk about that in a minute, but just as a quick little thing, I think Bitcoin's going to downtrend to somewhere around 650. So according to that, we're going to see a lot of Bitcoin being thrown into these currencies as a safe technologies, as a safe haven temporarily, and naturally, that much volume makes for more value. So that much volume and that much interest in a technology increases its value. So yeah, Factom, great buy. Even up 12%, it's still a great buy in my opinion. So now Steam, I had a couple people talking with me about Steam because they told me about a Steam hard fork that happened. Basically, it made it so Steam here has a lower inflation rate. So one of the issues with Steam, as far as an investment goes, is that it was constantly inflating itself. The amount of, and if you don't know what inflation is, I'll do a quick description here. Basically, inflation is when you have a certain available supply of something and you have a set amount in which it increases. Or it doesn't even have to be a set amount. Basically, the available supply of something increases to make up for the amount of people using it. It can be a very healthy thing in an economy that have a good inflation rate, but not too much, because that will doom to fail your currency. So inflation is good somewhat to meet up with the size of your economy, but it can also be a really bad thing in the example of some currencies like I can't think of any off the top of my head, but there's multiple currencies that have died because they were inflated to the point that it was worthless, and so nobody cared about it anymore. Because there was too many of them. It was too pointless to use it. You know, you have to carry a wheelbarrow of cash to buy bread or whatever, as an example. So that can be an issue, and that's basically why another coin that I wanted to mention just for a minute is Zcash. That's why Zcash is a big giant downtrend, is because it started with a really low available supply, and the mining inflation, so just the natural inflation of the coin, because we started with a small amount of them. As the available supply grows, meaning more coins get mined by miners confirming transactions, then as the available supply goes up and up, the amount people are willing to pay for that becomes less and less, because there's more for people to have. So that's why Zcash is a really big downtrend, and why it has to kind of find a point in which the available supply and the amount of volume, because it does average really good volume, finds a happy medium, and we can start to see an increase in value, which I see happening around 0.025 Bitcoin. Now that's just my projection, but I feel like it will go down somewhere around there, and then we'll start to see a nice increase. It's never going to hit its previous high, or it won't for a long time. Pretty much the only way it will is if Bitcoin dies. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, but good stuff. Alright. But yeah, Steam, I kind of feel like finally, because of the hard fork, and because of, you know, it's been on here for a long time now, since July, so we've seen Steam around for a little while. I feel like this is finally a nice 1, 2, 3 bottom formation. This being the 1 point at 0.000135 the 2 point at 0.000386, and the 3 point at 0.000139. So we've already seen it break above its 2 point, which is a really good sign for investors, and this is a super good buy for today. If you want to invest a lot day trading today, this is my day trade coin of the day, is Steam. I see Steam gaining a pretty significant up today. It's down 3.6%, so it's a good area where you can buy a lot. You're not buying too much. You're not buying, overinflated in value or over whatever in value. You're paying a really good price for Steam right now, in my opinion. So definitely one to keep your eye on. MadeSafe coin. Like I said, all of these coins right now have really good market conditions, which is one of the reasons I see a downtrend in Bitcoin, is purely because of these chart patterns look so good right now. Because I feel like if there wasn't altcoin competition right now in Bitcoin, we would already have hit its previous high, or pretty close to it, purely because of the volume, the interest, and the amount of people that have started using it. A lot of my friends even use it, a lot of people that I never would have suspected asked me about it, and I showed them how to use it. I've got a lot of people in this small little town that I grew up in to actually use cryptocurrencies, and they like it. Like, for example, my little brother invested somewhere around $400, and he's seen 100% gains. His Bitcoin is worth $800 now. That's a really good thing, just to see my little brother be able to make that type of profit trading Bitcoin, and all he did was buy it. All he's done was buy it. He had the money, he listened to me, decided that I knew what I was talking about, bought some at the right time, and it turned out nice for him. So it's good to see that. It's good to see that happening. Now, Sync is one that I like to invest in occasionally, mainly when it's really dumped off. But now looks like one of those times to me. It hasn't came down here, but it's been playing around this 1.3 area pretty nicely, and it's below the 23, so I like to look for that, especially since it spent a lot of time above it. And if alts gain strength, Sync is just the top 8 or something in volume, or top 8 coins on Poloniex. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's basically just a lot of, I think it's the most valuable. I think it's like the 10 most valuable on Poloniex. It just gets stacked into an index, it's called. And stocks, that's basically a bunch of stocks together. Like the S&P 500 is an index of technology stocks and other things like that. So basically an index is just a list of different things. And this is an index, a crypto index. So yeah, Sync is one that I invested a little bit in today. XRP, or Ripple, again, another incredible investment in my opinion. This is a good chart pattern to me. This 1, 2, 3 head and shoulder formation, this is what that's called. You have a left shoulder and a right shoulder, and then the head right here in the center. This head and shoulder formation has a lot of up strength, which means if you look at it, you can kind of see it, how it's angled up. A lot of the support down here, it finds higher support right here. Oops. You can drag PNG images of live Poloniex. If you didn't know, you can just drag it out, or I think you just right click on it, view image, because it makes a live image here, I guess is the way it works. But yeah, it found higher lows along this point, and temporarily a lot of these head and shoulders, they lose value for a second afterwards, but that pattern is really important. And a lot of times when you see a head and shoulder that has more of a down potential look to it, then the coin will go down for a while. So it's all speculation at that point, because you can't really say for sure that it's going to do that. But it is a good indicator, a good pattern to look out for, is head and shoulders that look like they make higher lows. So yeah, I feel like Ripple is a pretty good spot to put your money right now, especially considering the fact that it too spent a lot of time above this level here, and in the past it spent even more time above those levels. These lows right here is basically spent no time in compared to all of these highs that it was, it's been playing around in. So definitely a good one, and one that I've been investing in today. Oh, looks like some of my otter was bought. I didn't have any before. That's good. The reason I bought this coin is because I see this 1, 2, 3 right here. Looks like it kind of bottomed out. It's also pretty new. Now I don't really know what it's going to do, but I figured I'd bet a little Bitcoin on it. Why not? So yeah, I like to see that. Some other stuff I was going to go over here real quick, just super fast before I go over Bitcoin. Some other coins you want to look at is Potcoin. I mentioned this in my last video. But as you can see, yesterday alone we saw 100%. I have Potcoin on my personal account, or I would have bought more here, but I just didn't really see a point since I already have some, and I wasn't really sure if it was the best buy opportunity coming up and testing this resistance at 38. So, I kind of wanted to wait and see if it came. But yesterday, I bought some when I started to see it break out, and that was a really good move because I saw over 100% gains in it. That was December 13th, and that's a good thing to see in a currency when it over doubles in value in one day. So yeah, definitely want to keep your eye on one I've talked about in the past and told you to, but we'll see what it does. I think it has a lot of potential. I don't really see it. I don't really see it starting a downtrend for at least a month. So yeah, Potcoin, Bitmark could also be a good investment. I haven't really decided, just because people message on the troll box each other Bitmark all the time, so the flow of it kind of adjusts the value. Or can. I'm not saying it will, but it can. SYS, Syscoin, good investment in my opinion. Oh, I wanted to talk about a battle between XMR and Dash. Now, XMR, don't get me wrong, I think it has a ton of value potential in the future. Upwards of, $15, $30. I see that projection. But as for now, I think it might make kind of a Bitcoin chart, and we'll go back here so you can kind of see. Let's see here, actually. Let me go to Bitcoin Wisdom just so that I can kind of make a chart here real quick. 3 days. 1 week. Wow. That's cool. I haven't really looked at Bitcoin like that in the past. That's amazing. Yeah, when you do 1 weeks on CryptoWatch, I mean, it looks differently. You don't see this steady increase like this. So I was pretty interested in that tip. But so yeah, I feel like this is basically what XMR is doing right now. We see this huge spike up to a new high, and then it comes down and tests its 23%, makes this hump formation right here, which I feel like that's what this is the beginning of a hump formation. And then I think we're going to see a little dump off, and another hump, and the beginning of a nice uptrend again. So that's what I see happening in XMR. Whether it actually does or not, who knows? It could just make a huge run up purely because of Bitcoin's dump, and because it has a pretty big user basis now. It's built up a nice user basis because of different things that gave it nice strength along its way. So, that's what I see happening purely because of chart patterns, because they look really similar. That huge up and then this kind of bleeding out that happens. It's exactly what this did. Bleeds off on its way down, and then we see this formation happening. So I'm looking at it. It's either way, it's still a good time to invest if you're going long term. And with XMR, I'm going long term. All of the XMR that I have, I bought most of it before this even happened, so I'm going really long term on it. Yeah, I see a lot of potential in it though. But I will say that I think that we're going to see a battle between Dash and XMR. Now, I wouldn't say a battle. You can just say that if you really want to. You can call it whatever you want. But either way, because there is a market for the two that can be exchanged, and I see so much potential in Dash right now. Like if I were to put my money somewhere right now, between the two of XMR and Dash, I would put $1,000 in Dash over $1,000 in Monero right now, if you ask me. So that's the way I see it. What else is I going to talk about? Oh yeah, Coinbase. One of the things that Coinbase had happened to them was the IRS asked for their user information. They're fighting it in court, but basically the IRS wants to go after what they claim is the bigwigs, or whatever you want to call it, the people that are buying and selling a lot of Bitcoin, and the people that are laundering a lot of Bitcoin and not paying taxes. So that's what they're concerned about, according to my understanding. But it was some news in cryptocurrency, so I wanted to mention it. Another thing is Alphabet, which is a big marketplace that people use on the darknet with Bitcoin. Could be an exit scam. Now basically what that means is the website is shut down. They're claiming maintenance on it right now, and maintenance on the servers, but that's a huge place. There's so much money in XMR that goes through there because XMR is accepted, and tons of money in Bitcoin that goes through there. A pretty big portion of Bitcoin, that's bought probably goes through there. Now, I don't know, you can't figure out the real statistics, obviously, because it's all anonymous, but you can say that could negatively affect XMR, and it could definitely negatively affect Bitcoin too. So something to keep your eyes on, or just think about, really, whatever. But they are down right now, and it is a pretty big marketplace, a lot of user bases, so that's basically an economic market inside of it that has been taken down, and so it's something to consider. Now, basically today's main outline and concept was that it's a really good time to dump your valuable Bitcoin, not dump, or just invest your valuable Bitcoin into cheap alts. So a lot of these alts are really cheap right now, in retrospect of history and what they've been worth in the past, which makes for a really good opportunity to invest your valuable Bitcoin into cheap altcoins. Now, something I see in Bitcoin right now, and I could be wrong, it could just continue on this crazy uptrend that it's got going on right now, which is just very beautiful. I really like what Bitcoin has been doing recently, but I do see, you know, you have to remember as a trader that not everything's just going to go straight up. You know, you can't just expect something to go straight up when it rises. So one of the things I've been thinking about with Bitcoin is that we've had since 2015, early August to late October, when we started this uptrend that it started doing, we haven't really seen it break below any support. Like, it's just been catching support every single time. And we have seen a decrease in value. I mean, not value, volume. We've seen a consistent increase in value, but we've seen a decrease in volume since this little area right here, this 500 peak, I like to call it, just when it peaked out at $500. We've seen a consistent downtrend in the amount of volume that is being put into it. And as a trader, you have to remember that, you know, not everything's going to go perfect. In fact, if you plan that it's going to go perfect, you're going to run into problems, and then you're going to lose money. You have to plan for the dumps and plan for the losses, because they happen. It's just how natural market goes. So I see a temporary downtrend. If we take a fib trend here, where's the best spot for this? There we go. If we take a fib trend right here, we haven't had a time in which it broke below this fib trend since it started uptrending. Now, will it? Maybe not. Bitcoin is an experiment, and you have to remember that, and that it's also based on math, and so it could do crazy things that are completely unexpected and unforeseen. It could hit a new all-time high tomorrow. Who knows? You can't just completely say that that's not going to happen. That's why you hold a little bit of Bitcoin if you're, you know, investing into alts. You want to keep some of your security in that, because we have, you know, seen a nice uptrend in the past, and so if history repeats itself, it could just continue uptrending like it does. But I'm also not blind to the fact that the market, you know, could see a lot of issues. One of the things is Bitcoin increasing so much in value. The Bitcoin transaction fees are in Bitcoin. So when Bitcoin increases in value, transaction fees actually increase too, in accordance with the US dollar. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Just one of the scaling issues with Bitcoin. There's lots of scaling problems, and I'm not going to say that they're not there, because that's blinding yourself to the actual truth. So there's scaling issues with Bitcoin that need to be fixed or worked out. But, you know, people forget that it wasn't that long ago that we had a hard fork in Bitcoin, because you could dupe Bitcoin, so you could duplicate Bitcoins. So you can't forget that Bitcoin hasn't had its problems in the past, and that people hadn't fixed them, and then it's moved on and continued to work like it does. So, you know, those are issues that could happen, and we could see those problems. Excuse me for the stuffy nose today. But I also feel like overall it's going to stay around for a long time. So overall, I still see a lot of potential in Bitcoin. But I do see, because of alt strength and market conditions, we could see it come down to the 650 range is what I'm shooting for. Now, I really don't think it's going to break this fib trend line, because it hasn't since it started, and that's pretty impressive. but I do see a temporary downtrend into the 617, 600, up to 650 range. Mainly because I feel like it made a double top formation. And what is a double top? That's when it comes up and hits a high, and comes up and hits another high that's really close to that high, or if not the same high, and doesn't show significant reason to break above. So we haven't seen a gnarly candlestick up, you know. We haven't seen something like this, where the candlestick is just, we see this huge gain where it opens that day at 575 and closes that day at 682. You know, that's $100 increase in a day. So we haven't seen anything like that in Bitcoin for a little while now. And that tells me, plus this doji that's occurring right here. And a doji is just when you see a candlestick that's a straight line, and then another straight line, so it just looks like a horizontal cursor, basically. I see this doji happening right here, and that plus, we haven't seen a real reason that it wants to go up. We haven't seen significant bars pushing it up and overinflating the value, like right here where it came out and above, and over here where it came out and above. So I see a temporary downtrend in Bitcoin. I could be wrong, but that's what I foresee. So just a quick final to end this video. We have a total market capitalization of 14,489,122,682. 24-hour volume of just shy of 100 million. Bitcoin dominance is way up right now. It's 86.2. So another thing I see is Bitcoin dominance dropping off because of its value in the next little while. Ethereum still number 2, Ripple, you know. Standard looks pretty normal for market cap and stuff. And the markets are looking really good. It's a good time to hop in on a lot of this stuff. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. Again, sorry about the length in between videos and the stuffy nose. Like I said, I'm trying to get back on track with videos. And to the people that emailed me asking if I was alive still, here's your proof. And have a nice day. Thank you.